Hello, this is Dread from Last Epic Builds. In today's video topic, this is going to be a viewer requested build by a lovely viewer by the name of Daniel. And it just so happened to be a build from another community member, i.e. Cujo. Cujo gave me the go-ahead to make this build, so I thought I'd try it out and see what I could do with Spriggan itself. So this is a Spriggan build. And the idea is we're utilizing the nodes in Spriggan that give us the roots, like the little baby roots, and it turns them into spellcasters. So they shoot out a little bit of a root spell that will deal spell damage. Now this is important because we're going shaman and we're grabbing all of the spell damage on the shaman tree, which allows us to scale the damage of the roots exponentially and giving us a lot of DPS, and it's very strong. It's a lot less minion E and a lot more totem E from PoE. So if you like totems from PoE, this is a lot more like from totems from PoE. Another thing as well is we're utilizing the new mana loop that is introduced by the last patch, where you gain about 12 mana back whenever you unsummon totems, the thorn totems. And what we do is we make our healing totems have the same tree as our thorn totems, which pretty much in a combination of skill nodes on the tree allows us to infinitely keep up Spriggan form without the unique belt. Now, the unique belt is still strong because it allows you to sustain mana while not having to spam totems, but for this build, since our mana costs are so low, pretty much, right, it should, in theory, be fine. So far, I've done pretty well with it. I've pushed a wave 150 in arena already at level 74. I am ending the build a little bit soon, but that's because I do have other builds I want to try as well this patch, and we have a lot of builds on the plate, so kind of, working them through clockwork. I will leave a full Last Epic build planner in the description so that you can look at what I should be getting. So my gear is a little unfinished, and that's because I pretty much ran out of gold, and I'm pretty much running out of time to finish the build, so we are going to put in a cap in it for now. But like I said, this is going to be completely endgame viable. This is going to be insane for bossing. Like I said, already pushing to arena 150 with barely any effort proves the fact that we're pretty much going to do fine. Now, another thing as well, this is not in Cujo's guide. Cujo's guide, he went for chance to bleed on hit idols because of the fact that trying to build crit on these things is very hard due to the fact that added minion crit, like flat one, is very hard for spellcasting minions that are not companions. And what this causes is it makes it so that if we want to go crit, we either have to go all in or not in at all. So we are going all in on crit. So we're running a Death Rattle unique amulet. This is a dual purpose. The first purpose is it gives us 200% crit multi with minion skills, pretty much allowing us to quadruple our damage on crit, which is very strong. And then, of course, we have the health gained on minion death. Now, with all these little roots spawning around, and when you summon the totems with your right click, that counts for the minion dying for your HP. So this build actually has a strong amount of health sustain, unlike other Spriggan builds I've noticed. That is actually one of the weaknesses of Spriggan, is the lack of health gain, especially if you turn your healing totems into thorn totems, so you're not getting as much healing from those. So this allows you to simply pretty much play the game normally without having to worry about your HP as much. And if you get really low on HP, you can just spam your thorn totems to gain HP back. Now, to summon the totems and all that, so the faster we have cast speed, the faster we get mana back. So we're focusing on trying to get cast speed as much as possible. We're also focusing on trying to get other minions into the fold. So we are using a Spriggan companion for the healing, and we're using 2 wolves. Mainly the reason why we're using wolves is that they give us a frenzy on boss attack, about a 4% chance. So if we have 2 2 wolves, we should be able to trigger Frenzy on a boss more often. And it's a big AoE, and it affects all of your roots, giving your roots more cast speed, making them pretty much deal 20% more damage, which is very, very strong. And that's how a lot of our bossing DPS comes from. And like I said, the Spriggan is just for the healing, and there's not really many other skills to use in kind of a transformation mode, as you know. If you've played Spriggan before, it's kind of hard to find things to put in those slots that actually benefit you, so running the companions works pretty well. Another thing this patch added is, so minion health regen is absolutely busted. They made it so that all the increased minion health regen is all flat, which allows you to run companions a lot more liberally, meaning that, for instance, I'm able to run these double wolves without running any minion health or anything of the like, just because of the fact that if you get one flat minion HP regen roll on your gear and you get the 300% increased minion 300% increased health regen inside the wolves tree, it makes them almost nigh unkillable. And that's unless if they get one shot, obviously, right? Which makes it so that they're a lot more utility than normal, and it allows us to simply kind of spam that with wolves and get the frenzy, right? So they're just literally just frenzy sticks, walking frenzy sticks, right? And that's pretty much it for the intro. Let's get into the skills, shall we? Long intro, huh? Alright, here we are in game with Power the Dragon Flame, my shaman. Like I said, we're cutting this a little short, so I usually get this to level 80. But like I said, my arena performance has pretty much allowed me to realize that this build will do completely fine. You just simply need to refine some of the gear. Where am I here? We are right here, 151. Pretty strong, and I have some footage as well in the intro as well of that. But so the reason why we're named Power of the Dragon Flame is we were going to utilize Dragon Flame Edict and utilize it with the spamming totems, but what I found was this doesn't really do enough damage for it to matter. So the spamming totem loop does not work really well with Dragon Flame Edict, so I went to just play roots instead. And now let's get into the skills. So we have Spriggan form. So for Spriggan form, the way we're actually going to talk about 2 skill trees at once. So the most important thing about Thorn Totem is these 5 points that gives us mana efficiency, and then 3 points into Memories of a Terra. What that means is whenever we unsummon our totems, we gain mana back whenever they're unsummoned or they die. And since we're self-casting within Spriggan form, it counts for us to get the mana back. Recently, there used to be a way to gain mana infinitely with mana gained on hit totems, which pretty much got around pretty much the entire idea of running a transformation. But with this, it's a lot more balanced thanks to the fact that we have to actually self-cast the totems. So now we combine that with this note here, Spike Totem. So Healing Totem uses the Thorn Totem skill tree, meaning that this entire skill tree is applied to your healing totems. Then we grab one node into Unbound Garden so that we summon 3 totems, and we have a max of 3 totems as well, so that whenever we summon totems, we summon 3, and then when we summon again, we summon another 3, so that we're always gaining mana. And it's very, very strong for sustaining Spriggan form. You can actually use this trick for any Spriggan build. So, you know, this is the age of the Spriggan where we can actually play Spriggan without it being painful. That's pretty nice, huh? So, and then we take 5 points into Thick Tendrils to make our Summon Vines do 100% more damage. Then we take 2 points into Bind so that we summon additional vines. And then we have the very important node, Razor Vines. Summon Vines now attack with a Thorn that deals spell physical damage and pierces enemies. So pretty much what this means is that we get a spell attack instead of a melee attack with our Thorns, which allows us to scale spell damage on the tree. As you can tell here, we have minion spell damage here, minion spell damage here, and then of course on our gear we have minion spell damage wherever we can get it, which makes this very strong. Now we also have 5 nodes into Creeping Vines so that whenever our vines summon, there's a 25% chance to summon more vines on death, which is very strong whenever you're losing a lot of vines. then 2 points into tree sap so that we get a little bit of slow chance on our summoned vines so that things can't come close to us as fast. The last point here, I would put it into tree sap pretty much. And then now for Thorn Totem, the only other node that actually matters for this build is Frenetic Attunement. This just gives us 30% increase summoning speed, so I believe that that's just taken as cast speed so that we summon totems faster. Just so you know, cast speed does affect how fast you summon these totems, so getting as much cast speed as possible will make it so you put down vines faster and will summon totems faster, making it a lot more quality of life. So that's pretty much it for Thorn Totem. Everything else literally does not matter. The only important nodes are Totemic Wisdom, Memories of Atera, and Frenetic Attunement. Now for Summon Spriggan, this is your general Summon Spriggan setup for utility. We take 6 points into Aura Healing so that the Spriggan gives us the Aura Healing always. The 8 points into Aura of Retribution, which gives all of our roots more 80% increased damage, very strong. And then we also grab 6 points into Arboreal Vitality so that our Spriggan lasts longer. It's pretty much just a utility. It's like just something to keep the slots up because we have nothing else we can utilize in these slots. Now for Ice Thorns, this could be completely replaced. You could run anything else, doesn't matter. But the main reason why we run it is we run 3 points into Dagger Thorns, 2 points into Bramble Armor for a chance to cast Ice Thorns when hit, then another 20% chance to cast Ice Thorns when hit, meaning that we can stack armor with it with Bark Shield and use internal protection to make them last longer. This is pretty much our, if 1,000 things hits us, this pretty much tries to save us, but it's not the best thing ever, but it's all we can really spec into because nothing else matters. And then for wolves, the most important node on wolves is this node right here, Wolf and Recovery. Wolves have increased health regeneration, and then if you get flat minion health regen on gear, this makes it into like an absolute powerhouse in terms of sustain, making your wolves last almost forever pretty much unless they get one shot. Then the other important node here is Battle Cries so that we get the howl on boss hit chance, and pretty much the rest of the nodes is whatever you want. We also grab Pack Hunter, so we summon 2 wolves, which doubles our Battle Cry chance on bosses pretty much so that we have a double chance to do the howl, which will give all of our roots frenzy. And that's pretty much it for the skills today. Sorry it's not as in-depth, but to be honest, there's not really much to talk about other than the Spriggan tree and its interactions with the roots and of course the totems. And let's get into the passive, shall we? Alright, so for our passives, we take 8 points into Natural Attunement because Attunement increases our minion damage. We take 6 points into Wisdom of the Wild so we get more minion spell damage, which affects our minions' damage as well because they're spells. And then we take 6 points into Primal Medicine for another 30% increased minion damage. You could go for a tankier setup where you go for less HP, meaning less damage, and go for a lot more HP by running Gift of the Wilderness and Ancient Call, and then you run HP instead of Endurance, but I chose to run the Endurance setup instead of the HP setup, so it's either you go Endurance or you go max HP. Either way is completely viable. I just went for the max damage and max Endurance setup. Now for our Shaman tree, Druid tree, that's very important. We take 7 points into Bark Skin for the Endurance percentage and the armor, 8 points into Wood Lore so that we get more vitality, so we can get up to Spriggan Form, which will allow us to play Spriggan Form. And then of course we have, we'll talk about Beastmaster first. We'll take 8 points later on. We are only 75 by the way. We'll take 8 points into Earth Sign Strength, so we take less damage from nearby enemies. Most of the time I found I will die when something gets close to me, like rats. So this helps you deal with rats jumping on you. 8 points into Feline Bond for more flat dodge because we can't get enough of it because we're stacking Endurance as well. 5 points into Boar Heart so that we get another defensive mechanic versus melee minions that get up on us because we have no dash, making it so that we're very vulnerable to melee minions, melee enemies. Then we are going to take 5 points into Porcine Constitutions for another reduction in HP, right? Then we take the chase. So other than frenzy from our wolves, this is the only other source of global minion cast speed that actually affects the roots. So you 100% want to grab this, and then that's pretty much it for the Beastmaster tree. And for the Shaman tree, we take 8 points into Shamanic Infusion. This gives you your roots 8% pen and a lot of increased damage. 1 point travel into Silent Protector so that we can get 5 points into Totemic Fury, which allows us to cast our totems faster and our roots faster as well. And this is pretty much up all the time. 2 points into Stormbringer as travel, 4 points into Ancestral Speed as travel, but it does give us haste chance to get haste while we summon a totem, which gives us more movement speed, which allows us to kind of juke mobs, because the fact that we don't have a movement skill kind of sucks as Spriggan, but the haste almost makes up for it. Then we take 5 points into Avatar of Thunder. This is one of the main reasons why we're going with Spell Thorns, as it this applies to your thorns, and then you can pretty much scale it globally with minion spell damage. Then we take 8 points into minion adaptive spell damage as well, giving us about 26 flat with a skill that probably has 10 base, I believe it's 10 base. It doesn't tell us here. You'd have to check PoE. You'd have to check the Tunklabs, not Tunklabs, the other one. The one Dammit made, the build planner. Other nodes other than that, I don't believe there is. Mainly just getting the rest of the Beastmaster nodes, the Chase, and the Porcine Constitution. That's pretty much it. That's all you want with the build, and Ursine Strength as well. And that's pretty much it for the passives. Alright, here we are for the gearing. So I wasn't able to completely finish the gearing, and my gear is a little trash, but I will be including a build planner, or I believe I'll be including a Tunklabs of the finished gear for you, so that you can look at what you should be going for in the end game. I just wanted to get the build guide out so I could move to the next build, because it's kind of hype playing Ice Barrage next. But let's get back into this. So we run minion crit chance. So the reason why we run minion crit chance here, so if we go to our minion stats, we have about, where is it, 15% chance to crit. Now with max crit on our chest and our helm, on the prefix, the minion spell critical strike chance will be about 25% crit. Now that sounds terrible until you think of it in PoE terminology, right? So normal Spriggan root builds, right, they normally go not crit, and they deal enough damage then. But if you think of the crit, if you're at 25%, think of it's a 25% chance to quadruple your damage. And since you have all of these vines, right, odds are some of them will crit, and giving you insane amounts of damage with it, which is insane considering we have so many roots, right? So that is why we're running a death rattle, so that we get the minion critical strike multiplier to push it up to 400% with a perfect roll. And of course we regain 30 health on minion death, which counts for our summoning our thorn totems and counts as our actual minions dying, which is very, very strong and makes the build a lot better than it could have been. Now for the helm, you'd want increased minion crit, you want increased minion spell damage, and then you'd want endurance and dodge. Like I said, the build planner will be down. This is pretty much what you'll be wanting for a weapon. You'll probably want another suffix of minion physical damage. Now, the minion physical damage, it will affect the adaptive spell damage here, and it will also affect the base damage of the minion roots, because if you look into the Spriggan tree right here, right, it deals spell physical damage, so it's all spell physical damage. So putting minion physical damage on the suffix as well is another easy 100% damage multiplier. And of course, like I said, minion spell damage here. Dodge, resistance, block, endurance, dodge, endurance, dodge, endurance, dodge, endurance, kind of a theme here. Res, dodge, endurance, res, dodge, movement speed, res, endurance. Since we're a shaman, we cap our We cap our res with just 2 well-rolled gold rings. I kind of didn't roll mine well, but you can always improve them. Like I said, the build planner down below will give you a better idea of what you want to be going for. And one little thing, you will want minion health regen. You will want flat minion health regen here. You can put it on your helmet, your belt, or your relic. I would heavily suggest putting it on the prefix on your belt there, where that dodge rating is. You want a T5 so that the 300% increased health regen keeps your wolves alive, makes it very strong for that specifically, and also keeps your Spriggan alive as well. And it kind of keeps your roots alive. They usually get one shot anyways, but there's so many of them, and they have a 25% chance to summon another one on kill. I mean, when they die, it doesn't really matter. You just summon some more, right? That's pretty much it for the build guide. Sorry for cutting it a little close today, but like I said, I need to get to other builds as well, because there's a lot of builds to get to this patch. Thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you're at, and thank you, Cujo, for letting me play this build. And bye!